If you want to go from chaotic reactive energy to unbothered queen energy, you must learn to master your emotions. And you will never fully be in the power seat of your life until you can master your emotions. Hey friends, welcome back. If you're new here, my name's Jillz and I help women step into their power, tap into their divine feminine, and become their best self. So if that's something you want to do, you should subscribe and stick around. And in case you want more from me, you can also check out my Awaken Your Feminine Energy course or any of my other digital downloads like my Notion template, my workbooks, etc. And they're all linked down below. So in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how to master your emotions, what it even means to master your emotions, how to stop reacting, and why it all matters. So let's get one thing straight. Emotional mastery does not mean that you are emotionless. It doesn't mean that you need to shut down everything that you feel. And in fact, that's the opposite of what you want. Emotional mastery simply means that you are in the driver's seat of how those emotions are experienced and the role they play in your life and the impact they have in your behavior. And if you don't have this, you will always be a slave to your emotions and your triggers. You will always be reacting. You can lose respect from people. It can damage your relationships and it will strip you of your power. So if you want to be the master of your emotions, then there is one very important thing that you need, and that is self-awareness. Self-awareness is hands down one of the most powerful things that you can have to level up your life and become your best self. And self-awareness is the foundation of emotional intelligence. Think about it. If you cannot recognize and understand your own emotions, your own behavior, your own thoughts, how can you ever get in the driver's seat of your life? So many people, unfortunately, live their life completely in autopilot. They are not in control of their emotions and their life, and instead their emotions control them. Their emotions dictate their behavior, and they're just so busy and so caught up in, the everyday hustle and bustle of life and their to-dos that they completely lose that connection with themselves. And it may sound harmless, but in my personal opinion, a lack of self-awareness is actually one of the most damaging and limiting traits that you can have. And it will hold you back in every area of your life. Not being able to take a step back and be like, why do I feel this way? Why am I reacting this way? Why did I just freak out like that? And why did I just blow up like that? Why do I seem to get stuck in the same old pattern? Why am I the way that I am? Why is this emotion coming up? How does that past stressful, traumatic relationship still impacting me today? Now, if you chose to watch this video and this is a topic that you're interested in, then you probably have at least a decent amount of self-awareness and self-connection there. But one way to improve this and think about it is like just allowing yourself to be the curious observer of your life. Not judging yourself, not criticizing yourself, just curiously observing yourself, your life, your emotions, your behavior. You will never master your emotions until you can first get comfy observing yourself. Because if you're never aware of the emotions, the feelings, the reactions that are holding you back, then you will never break free from them. Okay, so let's talk about emotions though, because being the master of your emotions does not mean that you never feel them. Here's the thing, it might seem a little bit ironic, but in order to master your emotions, you have to let yourself feel your emotions. And it's oftentimes the people who are most disconnected from their emotions and their feelings who end up being controlled by their emotions and who end up being the most reactive. Like, the person that just kind of like snaps or yells out of nowhere. They have become so disconnected from their emotions, their feelings, their inner world that they keep pushing those feelings under the rug, pushing them under the rug, pushing them under the rug until eventually one day that level of emotion reaches a certain point where it becomes so hard to manage and so they explode and they become controlled by it, because we become controlled by our emotions when it reaches a certain level or threshold. Whereas if they allowed themselves to feel those emotions as they come up, it wouldn't have reached that overflow point and they wouldn't have been as controlled by them. When it comes to self-regulation and being more stoic and being less reactive, you need to honor those emotions you feel before they build up to a level where you cannot control them. Emotions are not irrational. Emotions are not weakness. Emotions are the subconscious mind communicating with us. When you push down and ignore your emotions, you're ignoring messages from the deeper parts of yourself. You're ignoring sensations that the body needs to experience and feel in order to move on and heal. So the next step toward emotional self-mastery after developing self-awareness is letting yourself feel those emotions when you're in an appropriate place to do so. A job interview is probably not the best time to have a breakdown about your recent breakup. Your big grad school presentation is probably not the best time to snap at your professor. Your kid's 5th birthday party is probably not the best time to cry about how stressed you are. But this is why self-awareness is so important. When you notice you have those emotions, you can't always fully express them and let them out in the moment. You know, depending on the situation, it's not always appropriate. And that is a part of emotional self-mastery. But you do need to let yourself feel them. You do need to give yourself the space to feel them. Feeling them is how your body processes them. Not just intellectualizing them and thinking about your feelings, but actually feeling your feelings. And there is a difference. Crying, hitting a pillow, shaking your whole body, or taking yourself to the gym so you can release them there, or talking to a person you trust. This is how you take ownership of your emotions and stay in control so they don't end up controlling you. When I was younger, I was a lot more reactive of a person because I didn't really allow myself to feel my emotions and connect with what was going on. I was more of an avoidant attachment type of person, and whether this is actually true or not, I didn't really feel like I had anyone that I could talk to. And I know that if I did have someone to talk to and I just actually felt those emotions instead of suppressing them, I would have been a lot more stable and secure as a person. And that is where BetterHelp comes in, who is kindly sponsoring this video. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that connects you virtually to a licensed therapist. What I love about BetterHelp is that you can do it completely over the phone or the computer. So you can do it either over a video chat or a phone call or even just messaging. It's totally up to you. It's so easy to sign up. Just go to my link, betterhelp.com/Jillz. You'll answer a quick questionnaire and they'll match you with a professional, usually within 48 hours. Let BetterHelp connect you to a therapist who can support you all from the comfort of your own home. Visit betterhelp.com/Jillz or just choose Jillz Guerin during sign up and receive a discount on your first month. So thank you, BetterHelp, and now let's get back into it. Everyone has emotions. Everyone deals with emotions. It's what makes us human. For emotional self-mastery, you need to let yourself feel them, express them, and observe them. Get curious about them. What are those emotions saying to you? What can you learn from them? What are they trying to communicate? Or maybe what needs to be released? Now, I want to make a quick point about this though. As crucial as it is to feel your feelings, there is a point you can cross, and only you will know where that point is, where you are no longer healthily expressing your feelings and instead you are just sitting in them, you are wallowing in them, you are being victim to them, and you're continuing to recreate that difficult emotional experience for yourself over and over again, right? Like there's an important difference between feeling your feelings and just wallowing in them and perpetuating them. My best advice for this is when you need to express an emotion, you will usually feel it in your body. Maybe you'll feel a heaviness in your chest or a lump in your throat or like an anger that's like rising up inside you in your body. But when you're choosing to stay stuck in it and wallow in it, you tend to feel it more in your mind. You're not necessarily feeling it anymore, you're thinking about it, you're ruminating on it. And what you're accidentally doing is you are continuing to perpetuate that negative feeling. So self-awareness and allowing yourself to actually feel your emotions, those are the first 2 steps in my opinion for emotional self-mastery. But it's not everything. So let's dive in a little bit deeper and let's dive into your triggers. Almost everyone has what we call triggers, and how you react to them will tell yourself and everyone else around you how in control you are of yourself, your life, your emotions. And this is what will differentiate the chaotic, reactive, crazy person from the calm, cool, confident, unbothered person. So a trigger is when something happens or when someone says something that sparks an immediate emotional reaction in you, usually a negative one. And that thing that triggered you, it might not feel like a very big deal to anyone else, but to you, it feels like an immediate big deal to you. You get an immediate emotional reaction from it. So here is just like a made-up example that we're gonna use to help understand this and break it down. So let's say that you and your partner just had dinner at home and you're craving dessert. So you open up the freezer and you grab like that big carton of chocolate ice cream. And your boyfriend goes, "Are you sure you want to eat that?" And you immediately get angry. You immediately react. You start yelling that you can eat whatever you want. Now, the reason he said that is because you ate that same chocolate ice cream last night and you complained for 2 hours about how much it made your stomach hurt. And you know that. But regardless, what he said triggered you. You impulsively reacted. It was almost like your body took over in that moment. The reason these triggers can have so much power over us and cause us to react so intensely is because they trigger a core wound within us. And the reason you got so angry about the ice cream is not necessarily because of what he said, but because it triggered one of your core wounds that has not yet been healed. It triggered those memories in your subconscious mind about how in high school your mom would always be talking to you about your weight and how you should probably lose a few pounds and how you probably shouldn't eat that, it's too many calories, and how when she was your age, she weighed much less than you. You felt like you were never good enough for her. You felt like she tried to control the things that you ate and the way that you looked. Growing up, she made you feel insecure about your body and yourself. So when your boyfriend lovingly said, "Are you sure you want to eat that?" because he knows that it's gonna give you quite the tummy ache, those past emotions and feelings from your childhood instantly came up. But not necessarily in your conscious mind though, but in your subconscious mind and in your body. I'm gonna tell you something that is so simple but so important. And if it's the only thing that you take away from this video, that's fine. Your triggers tell you what it is you still need to heal. I'm gonna say that one more time. Your triggers tell you what is still unhealed and what you are still controlled by. And oftentimes they do go back to childhood beliefs and old childhood wounds. They don't have to, but this is why that self-awareness piece is so important. Most of us have at least one core wound, usually stemming from childhood, that if left unhealed, you will keep continuing to feel that pain over and over again. And you will continue to be controlled by that pain over and over again. And it will control your emotions, your life, your behavior, and your reactions. Like for example, your core wound might be, I never feel good enough. I don't feel lovable enough. I don't want to feel rejected again. I don't want to be abandoned again. Or maybe your core wound is that you never truly felt heard. Another example, if your boyfriend said that he was going to call you on his lunch break, and when he was at work, when it was his lunchtime, he didn't call you, and you flip out, you freak out, you start spam texting him and spam calling him and just getting so angry, and it just elicited this like immediate, intense emotional reaction in you. Now, your boyfriend got invited to go on this really, really important work meeting that was like a lunch work meeting, and so he just didn't have the ability to call you, but you got so reactive and angry because deep down you still have a wound there around feeling rejected or around feeling abandoned. This is why people who lack self-awareness and lack emotional intelligence get completely knocked out by their triggers. When you heal the core wound, those triggers no longer have control over you. But until then, that person, that thing, that situation will always be the one in the driver's seat, not you. And you will never fully be able to master your emotions until you are able to notice the reaction, identify the connection to a deeper wound there, and heal and release it. So you will know if it's a true trigger if you react really impulsively to something and feel like that feeling kind of takes you over. And oftentimes that feeling is anger. It doesn't have to be, but a lot of times that trigger elicits anger. But here's the thing with anger. Anger is usually a secondary emotion. Think of it as like the tip of the iceberg. It's kind of like the tough shield that we put on and that we show the world to hide those more vulnerable emotions underneath. Like if you really think about it, underneath that anger is usually a heavier or more vulnerable emotion like sadness or fear. Like in the ice cream example, that comment really triggers her and she immediately gets angry. But underneath that anger is something deeper. It's probably a sort of sadness or fear or rejection around not feeling good enough as she is, or maybe a deeper feeling of insecurity. And you might notice that it's oftentimes the people that we are closest to that can actually trigger us the most. You know, like think about your family and your parents or your partner, or maybe your very best friend who you've known since 3rd grade. And that's because these are the people who we crave love, acceptance, approval, validation from the most, right? Like some random person on the internet can say something mean about me or write something mean in the comments, and it's kind of like, you know, whatever. But if my husband were to say that exact same thing, it would be like knife to the chest. So the point I'm trying to make is that when you get triggered, it's not necessarily the situation per se that's triggering you, but instead those emotions are stirred up because your subconscious mind is remembering and reacting to the original trauma that you once experienced. So again, I know I'm repeating myself here, but you become controlled by your emotions when you refuse to look at them, when you refuse to connect to them. It's that disconnection from your emotions and that disconnection from your deeper self that causes you to be out of control and that causes you to react. The people who react the most they have a hard time looking deep within themselves. And there's this quote from the book Unlocking the Quantum Woman by Shamina Taylor, and I just think it's so funny and accurate, and I highlighted it. She says, "Truth is, we all get triggered sometimes, and the only people who think that they truly have everything under control are the ones who absolutely don't." So you'll know when you're starting to truly master your emotions because you'll be able to start identifying those triggers and stop impulsively reacting to them. And eventually, once you heal that deeper wound, those triggers will start to completely dissipate. Remember, it's not about suppressing the emotion. It's about being conscious of the emotion so you can then suppress and control and maintain power over the reaction. And that brings me to my next point: to really master your emotions and to have more of that stoic presence. You need to be able to separate your feelings from your reactions, and to not just master your emotions, but to also master your reactions. Your emotions are your emotions. You don't really have that much control over how you feel. But your reactions, that is just your behavior. For the most part, that is a choice. Just because you're experiencing a certain emotion, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to have a certain reaction. Emotions are neither good or bad, but it is the reaction to our emotions that can either be good or bad. Remember that your emotions are temporary, but the decisions you make and the things that you say are permanent. If you don't know in the moment how you want to react to something, and you don't want to accidentally do or say something that you might regret, you can take a pause. You can pause before reacting, because first of all, that silence itself can be quite powerful. But also, sometimes you just need 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or even a whole day to sleep on it first, and then respond in the way that you want. Reacting out of impulsivity usually won't get you far. And with that said though, every action does not always deserve a reaction. It's not always necessary. You don't always need closure. You don't always need to prove a point. Your desire to win will cost you your peace, and your peace is your power. Epictetus, one of the most famous ancient Stoic philosophers, said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." It's not just about mastering your emotions, it's also about mastering your reactions, and your emotions and your reactions are not the same thing. And lastly, let's talk about the let them theory. I believe this was coined by Mel Robbins. I'm not totally sure on that though, but it's simple, and I think this is an important thing to mention in regards to this topic. So I'm just gonna play what she has to say.
So I've been using this thing called the let them theory. I love this. I want you to try it. Here's how it works. The next time you feel left out, your friends all go out to brunch together and they don't invite you. Let them. Or maybe the person you're dating doesn't want a commitment. Let them. Or perhaps your spouse does not want to do the 5K with you. Let them. Your company is laying people off. Let them. You spend so much time and energy trying to control other people and getting emotionally worked up about things that are beyond your control. You can tap into peace and true control if you let them be themselves. And here's the other thing. If you let them, people will then reveal who they truly are. And when they reveal who they truly are to you, you now know what you can choose next that's right for you. So let them.
Here's the thing, when you try to control everything, it can cause you to emotionally spiral because you can't control everything. It's impossible. And the let them theory is really just another way to practice healthy detachment. When you do not force, when you allow people to be who they are, when you embrace the uncertainty of life, you will naturally be less emotionally reactive to things. Oh, your boyfriend doesn't want to date you anymore? Okay. Let them leave. It's ironic, but you will feel so much more powerful and so much more in control of your life. Your mom thinks that you made the wrong decision quitting your job. Okay, let her think that. It's the resistance to that that causes us to suffer and that causes us to emotionally react. And like Mel Robbins said, when you let them, people will show who they are. And that really is a gift. The more you try to control everyone and everything, the less in control you will feel. And again, your desire to win, your desire to always be right, your desire to try to prove a point, your desire to always have things go right, your desire to always be in control will cost you your peace. And your peace is your power. That is it. I truly hope that you got value from this video. Thank you so much for sticking around till the very end, and leave a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this topic. I'd love to know. But besides that, I will see you next time in my next video. Bye.